Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Progressive Overload Podcast. Have you ever thought about strengthening multiple areas of your life at the same time? Then you've come to the right place. Our goal is to help you identify ways that you might need a progressive overload to break through those plateaus and keep you growing. 1 Corinthians 13:13 says, "And now the three remain: intensity, overload, and consistency. But the greatest of these is consistency."
Did you say Corinthians?
Corinthians 13:13.
Is that heresy?
Well, we push the envelope here on the Progressive Overload Podcast, and we are grateful that you're listening, if you still are at this point.
You still give us credit?
Yeah, we wanted to actually, one of us wanted to start the podcast that way. There is a passage of scripture. I'm going to just throw it out there so that we get this straight right out of the bat, out of the box. 1 Corinthians 13:13, "And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Joe had his own spin on it.
Yes.
Just in case you're wondering, that's Joe Copeland. And Dustin Moore is across from me.
Yo.
I'm Adam Lazarine, and thank you for joining us on the Progressive Overload Podcast. Today, consistency is on the schedule.
That's on the chopping block. Yeah.
It is kind of a cruel irony that I think Dustin is about to have his consistency blown out of the water. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Unfortunately.
And I am just on the heels of having my consistency be shut down.
Breakdown.
Yeah, just I had a... I don't know what you'd call that. A breakdown, I guess. Yeah. Not mentally or physically. Just decided I would shut down for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
So consistency. What is it and how do we accomplish it? Go, Joe.
Yeah, so consistency is without a doubt the most important factor in an exercise, health, fitness journey. Like I said, there's so many other factors, whether we're talking about intensity, overload, what kind of exercises you're doing, what kind of food you're eating. There's so many different factors and things. But with all of those being considered, I would rather you be consistently doing a terrible workout program than inconsistently doing a perfect workout program.
That's interesting.
I mean, my workouts are always perfect, but
I mean, because you have a pretty good coach.
That's it. Those videos help a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know what you're talking about. That went over my head, though. Are you talking about on the app?
Never mind.
Okay. All right.
I was trying to make a jab at you, but...
About my Instagram reels? Is that what you're talking about?
No, absolutely not.
Because I'm a social media influencer now.
You are. You haven't hit the point where you've gone shirtless, thankfully.
No, that'll never happen.
You have to go shirtless and have a piece of pizza in your hand. That's apparently how it works.
Listen, I mean, pretty soon we're going to need a reel of us taking turns squatting while having a piece of pizza, right? Like,
I mean, we can do that.
No.
Flexible dieting, right?
No.
What are y'all doing at 1 p.m. today?
Not that.
Not that.
All right.
Can assure.
Consistency.
Yeah.
How is that even possible in today's world? To be consistent with just about anything, it's hard, isn't it? About the one thing we're consistent with is sleeping, maybe? Everybody.
Sometimes, even that, I think we lose sight of sometimes, especially camp season. Shout out to my other youth pastors.
Yes.
But no, I think consistency is something that is very difficult to keep hold of. And I think that is true for all areas of our lives. And I think it comes down to this. This is how I see it. I'd love to get your guys' input. I think that consistency comes down to prioritization.
Yeah.
You prioritize what is most valuable to you. And so to have consistency within the realm of our workouts, we have to have the priority placed upon our workouts. It has to carry enough weight or value or importance to us that we force it to fit.
Yeah.
Even when sometimes we don't want to.
It doesn't.
Yeah, that has to be step one is placing that on the top of your priority list.
Yeah. I've got 2 guys that I do life with, and both of them actually have memberships and consistently talk about, I need to start meal prepping. I need to get in the gym. I need to. And it's great to hear them realize those things, but at some point they have to do something about it.
Yeah.
They can have the gym membership, they can buy the food to meal prep, but until it gets to be a priority where they are going to consistently make it a part of their day, to where when they get off work and they just come in and they go, I'm tired, and they lay down for an hour and a half and do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the time that you want to say that you don't have, but you do.
I think it's important to distinguish the fact that consistency should never correlate with our level of motivation. So consistency should be our baseline. It should be regardless of where my motivational levels are at that moment. I have the discipline, which is where consistency comes from, is discipline. Sure. I have the discipline to get my minimum of 3 or 4 workouts in a week to get in. And then what happens is when that's your baseline, that's your mid-level, I know regardless of my motivation levels each week, I will get my 3 or 4 workouts or whatever you have set for your baseline. And what you do is you just ride the waves whenever you go through a season where you're highly motivated. That's when you can get extra workouts in, where you can chase PRs, where you can chase new types of programs. And maybe you go through a valley where you're just exhausted. You're maybe life threw something at you and it knocked you down a little bit. You're still getting to the gym, consistently doing exercises. Maybe you're not pushing yourself to the limit like you were, but you're still staying in that routine of that consistent.
And I think this
baseline.
Is something that, Joe, you and I specifically have talked about in regards to our own personal journeys. And there was a moment where you had hurt yourself. I remember several weeks ago. Maybe it's been over a month now.
Yeah,
it has been a while. But I remember you going through that pain of having hurt yourself, and I asked you, so what are you going to do when you have to work out tomorrow? And your answer was, I'm going to do something. I'm going to make sure that I get to the gym. I'm going to put the time in. I'm going to be careful and watch this and not do anything to, exaggerate or make this worse. But I'm going to make sure that I'm there. And I think that is a good example of that discipline that you mentioned there, in regards to how it affects your consistency. I'm thinking of myself a little more personally now, like shout out to Adam, talking about having fallen off the wagon, so to say, with the consistency of the workouts.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like I'm there with you, having gone through some health issues last week that just really prevented me from being able to be up and around at all, much less in the gym, and then about to go through something else as well at the time of this recording that's going to probably hinder workouts at least slightly.
Yeah.
Hopefully not for long, but I anticipate it to affect it to some extent, to where I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do.
No.
And if I was banking on motivation, then I would burn out.
Right.
But consistency and the discipline that goes with it is what's going to push me to go back.
Right. Yeah. Well, it does seem to win the day. And my consistency fallout here was based on my diet. And then I was 5 days without being in the gym, which is a long time. Typical rest time for me is 3 days out of 7. Yeah. It seems to work for me. But I was looking at the definition actually of consistency, because I want to make sure that we apply it accurately. And I love this. It says, a level of performance that does not vary greatly in quality over time. And so it's that steadiness that you get.
The baseline.
Yeah, like you said, baseline. It's just that we would call it a routine maybe. But part of that routine becomes, it bleeds into everything: your diet, your workouts, your attitude, your mental health, your all of the things that we talk about on this podcast. that we've talked about some before. So the next part of this is choice over feeling.
Yeah.
What
I
is
love
that?
that concept so much.
Let's explain that, or I don't know, unpack that for just a second. What does it mean?
Well, so discipline, like I said just a while ago, consistency and discipline are unrelated to motivation. Discipline, like I've always said, carries us through the valleys, over the mountaintops. It helps us stay consistent on our baseline. And so discipline, there's one of the highest categories of highest selling books out there are motivational type books, and also books on how to become more disciplined. It's one of the highest selling categories of books. And that's because people are begging to figure out how they can become more disciplined. Everybody wants to become more disciplined, but they're trying to find out hacks or changes that they can make to become disciplined. And that's when I just have to literally tell them discipline is a choice that we make in our brain. It is not a feeling. And I love that concept in so many ways of life. Adam, you're married. You don't wake up with butterflies in your tum-tum every single morning with your wife. And I hope I'm not speaking for you.
Hey.
But yeah.
Hey.
I don't wake up and just, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with my wife every single day. But maybe we got in a fight the night before or something like that, or an argument, but I make that choice every single morning. This is my bride for life, or ride or die. I'm here by your side. And I'm choosing that day to love you with all of my heart. Same thing with our walk with Christ.
Sure.
We don't feel the presence of the Holy Spirit at all times, but we choose to follow God every single day.
Right.
So
you didn't overstep, or that's not a reach, because I always say it this way. I say, love is not a pit I can fall into, because if it was, I could get out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's
Good save. You may have just kept Joe out of the doghouse.
Right. Wait, can your wife put me in y'all's doghouse for speaking for you?
Probably.
Is there a crossover there?
Yeah, probably so.
Probably.
But I think it goes back to
Discipline
that.
could be there.
Yeah, it's that choice that you have to make.
Yeah.
And to me, it always, for marriage, it's easy for me. It goes back to our vows. It's a covenant relationship we made before God.
Yes.
And witnesses. And so that is a binding deal. And I treat it as such every time that I wake up.
Yeah.
And even whenever things get tough. The other thing I think about when we're talking about this, the choice and not a feeling, like I think about driving, because there's so many choices that you have to make.
Yeah.
But if you're not disciplined, then you can make the wrong one.
Yeah.
Let's just take, for instance, if you are out in your car and it starts to rain and you just decide, I don't want to drive in the rain, then you have an option. You have a choice to make. You can either stop, you can get out, you can, you can shut it all down, or you can drive and be disciplined enough. Maybe you put two hands on the wheel instead of one. Yeah. Maybe you slow down a little bit instead of
your windshield
speed.
wipers.
Maybe you turn on the windshield wipers. You keep your headlights.
To be clear, we do promote you following any and all safety.
Traffic laws are important. Yes, we want you to obey the law and be subject to the law, especially when you're driving. But I think about that because I could get up tomorrow and choose to get on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
And that's a choice. That's a bad choice.
Yeah.
Please do not make that choice tomorrow if you're driving.
10 out of 10 do not recommend.
But then I can justify it though by saying I felt like driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So just because we feel it doesn't mean we should choose it.
When I think about this concept of discipline, in regards to our choices and it not being that motivation or that feeling, I think back to how I've almost rewired my brain to how I respond to or think about food, right? I in past, what I ate was what I was motivated or craving to eat or felt like eating in a sense. And as I was trying to go through losing weight with that mentality, I started to mark everything as a success or failure. And so my motivation would be directly tied to almost what I ate. if I ate something that I did not feel was like a good choice or healthy because I just caved and I really wanted that slice of pizza, then for the rest of that day, I would mentally just beat myself down if I messed up today.
Yeah.
Right? And I've shifted from that to thinking about everything as a choice, right? There are better choices. There are choices that I don't need to make, but taking it away from that standard of measurement of failure or success and freeing myself up from the kind of the emotional attachment to that and realizing, food is for fuel, not for fun, and starting to kind of rebuild my mindset in a way where I have almost what I would consider a healthy way of thinking about food in general. That's where I see kind of this consistency within our choices really, in my life, take shape, which has led to me being able to be disciplined enough to say, yeah, I could make that choice, but I also know that there is a different choice that's a little better for me.
Yeah. That's a much healthier approach. I mean, obviously, negative feelings will produce negative choices, and pretty much all of the time. And so,
outside of when I just get super emotional and have to have my giant tub of ice cream.
Well, now who's fallen off the wagon? Just kidding.
The ice cream bucket after I'm done with it.
Yeah,
right. When is the best time to start being consistent?
Now.
Right now. Yeah.
Now?
No.
Right now, if you're listening to the podcast, timestamp this. Now is when you begin. Let's go.
That's true.
Yeah.
No. If you ask any gym manager or trainer or anybody that spent a significant amount of time in the gym, they will tell you that the people that work out in the morning are the most consistent by far.
Yeah.
And I just look at my own personal experience in that. The same people that I see that are checked in at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and even 7 or 8, depends on people's schedule. The ones that get it done before their own day starts are 100% the most consistent. There's some outliers who are there every single day at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever. But if you are there at a gym consistently at 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 a.m., you are going to see the same people every single time. And it's the same thing true with my hometown gym.
And there's just something to be said about making the most of your mornings, right? For me, I was a part of that early morning group at one point. Yeah. I am not currently. I typically go around lunchtime or in the afternoons. However, when I was consistently going during that morning time, I really felt like my day was launched almost, is the word I want to use. Yeah. It was started well, but it wasn't just started well. That's why I like the word launch. It launched me into the day in a productive manner. Oh, yeah. Like my mindset was different. My alertness was different. My ability to process or think as I moved from that to work was different. It really began to affect, and I think that was the draw for me, especially early on. That was the draw strictly based off of the benefits that I was reaping from being active during the mornings.
Absolutely.
And I wanted, that's the thing, I developed a desire. I wanted to be consistent with it because I knew what the benefits were and how much it would help me.
Yeah, that's good to draw back to understanding what benefits you're getting out of it, because you can create that positive feedback loop of if I do this, it makes me feel this way, and I love that, and if I do that, it makes me do this, and then there's just this constant loop of positive effects. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, working out in the morning before your day starts. That's one of the best ways to get in a consistent routine, because nobody has appointments usually at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. There's nothing that can get away. You're not going to get a phone call from a coworker saying, I need this, or from you're usually not going to get sales calls at that time of the day. And so that's one of my favorites.
And I think like there's something to be said when you look at big names. Like there's big names, people that obviously we don't know, but we know of, who have this mentality, right, where they force themselves up, and these guys are working out at like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah.
They're starting their day at 4 a.m.
Jocko is the one that preaches that.
It is crazy to me. There's a bunch of celebrities. Like I see these
Yeah.
videos all the time where they start to talk about their daily schedule,
Mhm.
and they start with their workout at like 4 a.m. And at first it was crazy to me. But once I started to, like I said, see those benefits and see how it affected the rest of my day, it made sense.
Mhm.
And I can see how a consistency within that can almost help to guide or push you towards success.
Yeah, for sure.
What about the flip side of all this? We're talking about positive feedback loops and
Mhm.
positive, consistent behaviors. What are some of the negative, consistent behaviors that you guys deal with? Like maybe it's when every time you get home, your routine is first thing I do is go to the refrigerator, or
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Isn't there a flip side to this that we have to
Absolutely.
reverse? Because you can, if you're going to replace or take out something in your loop of consistency for the day, you got to replace it with something else. What are some of those things for you guys? For me, whenever I'll just start because I brought this up. When I get home, the first thing I think about doing is snacking, usually because my kids are doing it, or, I want to get through to dinner, or that's the first thing I do. And so I have to either make a conscious choice to make a healthy choice to snack or not snack at all. So that's it for me. That's one of the first things I think of.
For me, it depends on the day, because there's some days I have other things going on where I go home and I have to tackle a certain task or project, right? Which those days tend to go a little better. But for me, I think the biggest thing would be I get home after a long day, whatever, and shoes go off and I find the couch. The TV remote is like right there. And I've actually taken steps to work on this, even of placing that remote further away and not letting myself like touch it to watch TV or anything. I'll grab a book and I'll start to read. I know like screen time is one thing that for me, I get screen time all the time when I'm working because I deal a lot with media and computers. And so for me, being able to distance myself from that when I'm at home is one of those like little changes of me being able to work on things. That's part of the reason that initially I switched to starting to work out and stuff during the afternoon, because it was distancing myself from that.
Right.
And kind of trying to replace it with those healthier habits.
Yeah.
Do you think we could strap his remote to an 80-pound dumbbell?
Ooh, there we go. That way, every time you change you're getting at least a curl
Yeah.
or
Hey,
a shrug or
Gonna
something.
Hey,
do a deadlift or
listen,
something?
I'm game.
All right. What about you, Joe?
So the first one that came to my head is, I commute about 55 minutes a day to my job, and right in the middle of that drive is a gas station, and I caught myself stopping at that gas station on my way home at night, whether it was to get a drink or it was, right before dinner. I'm going to eat dinner in 30 minutes when I get home, but I'm just starving, so I'll grab a snack. And, there's very limited options of good, healthy snacks at most gas stations. And so
You grabbed the corn dog, didn't you?
No.
The dreaded gas station
usually,
corn dog.
no, dude. It would just be something small. I mean, a lot of times it was like this, protein bar or something like that.
Oh, yeah, make it healthy. Okay.
Well, not even healthy. I mean, it was probably crap at the end of the day, but it was unneeded calories that was right before dinner. We kind of talked about that. So what I decided to do was, after I caught myself in this negative behavior of not only adding extra calories to my day that are purposeless or needless, I was also spending extra money where I shouldn't have, where I didn't. It was, it was just wasting money.
Yeah.
And so I just started making a protein shake before I left work every day, and I would sip on that protein shake on the way home.
And
so
like these habits are one thing that I can see that, especially as you're walking through the day-to-day and dealing with these, and these are small habits, but surely there's bigger ones or different habits that we can work on as well. when we were going through our contest earlier in the year, right? There was a point where I wondered, man, I don't know if I can do this. And I needed that little extra oomph, that little extra push. And so I had my small group that I do that has just a group of guys my own age that I meet with weekly. I said, guys, I need you to keep me accountable.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to know this is what I've got going. This is what I'm planning. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm struggling to do it on my own. And I need you there for me.
Yeah. Letting people that are close to you know your plans and know your goals is so vital. You know, Adam, you talked a while ago, we were talking about marriage. You know, you made this promise to your wife in front of people, and those people that were at that ceremony can kind of act as motivation for you to not let them down. You know, I can kind of see that correlation there. But letting my friends, my family, my wife know what I want and what my goals are, even if those people that know your goals aren't directly holding you accountable, them knowing and not wanting to let them down on your end, it is so helpful in being consistent in your nutrition and your workouts.
Right. Well, I think it's important that you almost look at this as a contractual agreement of some sort.
Sure.
You know, what if you were to wake up and make a contract with yourself and go, this is my job description for the day, and this is what I'm contractually bound to do and obligated to do? How would that change, you know, the consistency that you have in your life?
I like that.
Maybe it's worth trying. Maybe it's harder than you think it would be.
That's literally like, so with my small group, if I can talk, when I approached them and said, hey, I need some help, it was more so in context of controlling my eating, because I was just hitting points of I was just hungry, and then I would just be like, well, I'll just eat a little of this, and that little turned into a little more, right? And so I hit a point of, guys, we have this group text. I'm going to send you guys pictures of everything I eat. Every time I go to eat a bowl of cereal, to make a sandwich, to cook anything that I'm going to put into my body, food-wise, I'm going to send you a picture of and let you know. And you guys, I need you guys to be firm with me. Be like, hey, I don't think you really need that. Hey, like, remember your goal is this. Like, to have that reminder. And for me, I think this is kind of a little bit of what you were getting at with the contract part, Adam, is having those guys that I was accountable to, or that was holding me to it, gave me that extra motivation because I didn't want to let them down.
Sure. Yep. And that's probably the reason why I was eating poorly for, I don't know, 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And I say that I just made not healthy choices, not all, you know, not every meal, but whenever I wanted something, I told Joe, like, and Dustin, did I tell you? I had Papa John's, and
you didn't tell me. Thank you for admitting a lie.
Yeah, donuts, and, you know, those kind of things. Just different times during
Surely
that,
some Tex-Mex.
Nope, I stayed away from that. No, I stayed away. But still, the reason I probably stopped is because I knew when Tuesday came, or for me it was Wednesday, because Tuesday was something different, schedule-wise. But I was going to have to get on the scale and then send you guys the number. And so it's like, I got to stop, because I realize at some point I'm going to be held accountable for that, with, you know, 20 lashes with a wet noodle or something that you guys have available. So small things like that tend to make a big difference in all of our journeys and all of our lives. Why is that the case? Why does something so small matter so much?
It adds up.
Okay.
I mean, small efforts and on the end of that, small mistakes and small sins, they always add up.
Yeah, I would say, like, I picture Legos, right? I like analogies, bear with me. So I picture Legos. If I have a single Lego, it's not much. It's pretty small, right? But the more I add those other small Legos to it, I start to build a wall or whatever those things combine to make. But the more I'm adding to it, the bigger the issue has become. It's easier to deal with that small piece while it is a small piece, and I'm not adding more to it. So these small efforts add up both positively and negatively.
Yeah.
The negative side, as I'm adding those not as great choices, I'm picking on Adam here. Sorry, Adam.
That's fine.
As I eat that donut, that Papa John's, shout out to myself of eating absolute garbage because I was out of town and just was like, I need something quick so I can get home. I'm gonna stop at like Taco Bell, right? That's typically my go-to. It's my downfall. Don't judge me, okay? But as I start to add those Legos up, I've built something that is bigger than what it initially was meant to be.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing goes with our making positive choices.
Yeah.
Every time I get that morning workout in extremely early, I get home from work and I'm super tired, so I don't really want to meal prep, but I make myself do it because I know that I need to.
Yeah.
Every time I make that choice of, I'm going to have that protein shake before I leave work, so I don't stop at that gas station and get the snack I know I don't need. And as I add those positive things up, I'm building something just the same as I would if I was making negative choices, but almost see this something as worth more.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what the verse in Corinthians says. Out of intensity, overload, and consistency, the greatest of these is consistency.
Thank you for the Joe translation.
I know. I just had to see if I could get it out of my mouth again.
It's the book of Jolations.
There we go.
That would be better.
I should have done that.
I know.
Well, yeah. I think of this whole concept of small efforts adding up is the majority of the time that I see that is when I have a new client or a prospect coming to me talking about training. And usually when I'm approached by somebody, they're in a place where they're highly motivated, they're ready to go. I feel like crap, let's make all the changes in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll always ask this question, how many days can you commit to exercising? And they always say, 5. I want to be here 5 days a week. I haven't, and so they come to me not doing anything, and then they want to go immediately to working out with me 5 days a week. And I always reword it after that. I say, okay, now let's talk about this. How many days a week can you commit to for the rest of your life? And they're like, oh, okay. I didn't really think about that.
And I think that's a key part. I would venture to guess, this is just strictly a guess, right? Of those people who fall into that category, right? Number one, damage has already been done. The Lego wall has been built extremely high, right? And they're working on tearing that down. But I would also venture to guess that while they are motivated, they want it done overnight, so they can return to the life that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because they aren't putting 2 and 2 together or won't admit that, the choices I make to eat pizza 5 days a week is why I'm dealing with the issues I'm dealing with. Yeah,
almost every time I have a client that's, they're like, okay, I want to train with you, and then once I hit my goal, I want to stop, and then I'll just maintain on my own. That never, ever, ever works almost. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'll just tell that person, let's start with 1 to maybe 2 workouts a week. And we will slowly start making these small efforts of removing each brick at a time. And and what happens is basically is they add more and more efforts on. They're consistent. They're like, okay, I think I can handle the 3rd day, and then okay, I love this. Let's go 4th day, and then at that point they've built up to a healthy range. And so,
Joe, I know I've been here the last 4 days, but I need to be here again today. Give me a 5th workout,
yes,
right?
I've heard that many times. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't hear it from me.
You didn't hear it from me if you're listening to this podcast, because Joe did. Anyway.
So the greatest of these is consistency. The actual passage of Scripture says the greatest of these is love. And what are the 3 things that are tied into that? It is faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Now, why in the world is that the case? That's a good question, isn't it? Does anybody have a good answer for that question?
I bet you do.
I'm sure
I
you
have
do.
an answer, but I said a good answer.
Oh, none of my answers are good, Adam.
Come on.
Yours is going to be gooder.
You're disqualifying me. Yours is much more gooder than mine.
Wow. So I guess I'm on an island.
Sorry to my English majors out there.
I am under the bus and on an island today. That's fine.
It's all right. The plane I'm flying over as I'm just watching this happen.
With a banner behind it that says "Attaboy." I don't know what.
Yeah.
It's
pretty comfortable.
Let's go for it. Okay, so these three remain: faith, hope, and love. See, this is kind of looped into and lumped into our spiritual giftedness, and that is one of the jobs of the Holy Spirit, to be a gift giver.
Yeah,
sure.
And even in the list of spiritual gifts that we would consider the fruits of the Spirit, what's the first one? The fruits of the Spirit are
peace, patience.
What's the first one?
Love.
Peace,
Love.
patience,
And I actually like to go through. Yes, I know. Do the song.
Sing the
No,
song.
we
Sing
did that
the
last week and it
song.
was cringy.
Oh, come on.
So we're not singing on the air today.
Love, joy, peace,
No.
patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yay. So
No song necessary.
if you look at the fruits of the Spirit, we may have said this before, I look at them like a list of ingredients, and the one that is listed first is the most abundant.
Oh, yeah.
And so love is listed first. And then even in 1 Corinthians 13:13, it says, out of faith, hope, and love, the greatest of these is love. Now, those three things, in my estimation, are what you would consider forever gifts.
Yeah.
You're talking about how many times can people work out in a lifetime, for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
This kind of lends itself to that kind of a deal. If you're going to talk about love, then you're going to talk about something that it extends far beyond something that is just temporary. It's something that's going to last, and it is something that is the greatest. And there's a reason for that, actually. If you don't have love, you can't have the other two.
Yeah.
You can't have a loveless hope, and you can't have a loveless faith.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a trickle down effect where it being the main thing affects all other things, right? Because it is the core, because it is the center, because it is the greatest, we see that out of the overflow of what is in its place, we see that overflow begin to fill up all the other areas of our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And that does tend to matter.
It does.
Because 1 John 4:8 tells us that God is love. And so that's that's part of his nature.
Yeah. I was
go ahead.
At church a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about the attributes of God or the qualities of God, but he called them, these are the perfections of God, because God is the perfection of love, and he is the perfection of grace. And so I really loved his angle and his take on that. So yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's a perfect thing to say.
I know.
Yeah, perfect.
It's really the only time we should ever use the word perfect, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think God's love is one of those things that is so consistent.
Yeah.
And that's why we know it and talk about it and experience it.
Perfectly consistent.
Yes. And even that extends to the way that God disciplines those that he loves. That is tied into that same love. And so it doesn't mean, candy corn and, unicorn rainbows and stuff. I don't know where I was headed with that.
Sunshine and rainbows?
Something like that. I was thinking like ice cream and unicorn poop. I don't know. It's not going to be all of that stuff.
Okay. You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. That's right. God's love extends to the wonderful things that we think of when we think of God's love, and to the ways that he disciplines us. So
yeah. And I love, my favorite way to think of God's love is just how unconditional it is. And that gives us the most perfect example of how we should love someone here on earth also. And so, yeah.
Sweet.
See, you did have a good answer, Dustin.
Thank you.
Just for the record.
Appreciate it.
You can get in the plane with me. Joe is now on the island.
Don't get used to it. Don't get used to me having good answers. Joe, how's the island?
It's fine. Yeah.
He's going to vote himself off.
I'm used to it.
He's going to vote himself off the island. That could be dangerous. Depends on the island.
Stay consistent, people, with the way that you attack others.
Stay on track, unlike our conversations.
Wow.
Oh man.
All right.
Let's see what's new on our social media. Nothing really. Keep posting our Motivation Monday, our What You Eatin' Wednesday, our Fit Pick Friday. That's been fun to engage with you guys on that. We had a lot of Fit Picks on Friday, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A couple of guys posting some lifting videos and some exercise stuff, and that was cool. I enjoyed that, and so I'm excited to keep growing that. Like I said, I'm famous on Instagram now, so go to Progressive Overload Pod on Instagram.
Make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms, our key platforms being Facebook and Instagram.
Yes.
Make sure that you get plugged in with the community group on Facebook, and just keep watch. We have more things coming. We're starting to work some more media things out to give you guys more of a glimpse into not only, I guess, us and what we've got going on, but in ways that we hope will be able to benefit and help you.
We will be consistent. You will be too, right?
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to the Progressive Overload Podcast. We're honored to be a small part of your day. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or are interested in sponsoring our efforts, please feel free to reach out via email. Find us at progressiveoverloadpod@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow our podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.
And as always, you can help us reach the masses by sharing our podcast with your friends and family. And then check us out on Facebook and Instagram to follow our own personal journeys and get an inside look on our day-to-day lives. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.